welcome to another episode of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
You notice I didn't say the Life in Quarantine podcast. We're not really in quarantine anymore, so it's not.
I guess it depends on how you look at it, because officially the state is technically still in quarantine until the 12th of June. But no one gives a shit anyway.
Yeah, I've definitely seen more and more people out. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, well, and shit's starting to open up. So
yeah, well, I said it from the beginning. Once everyone was fine being stuck inside until it gets warm outside, and then once it got warm outside, the people would be done with it.
That and their hair was out of sync, and their nails were getting long and chipped, and blah blah blah. Because you got to prioritize these things.
Yeah,
life is only precious if it's another woman and her body, or if your nails are done.
You're stifling my freedom of getting my hair done.
Yeah, because you need it.
Yeah, I didn't shave my head today. I wasn't gonna shave my head, but whatever.
I'm wearing a hat for a reason, folks.
So I was.
I want to get a different hat. I'm gonna make it a trademark. I'm gonna do a different hat every episode or something like that.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I'm gonna get goofy hats. What the fuck,
Goofy hat, goofy face, goofy head. That's all good.
Hey, it's consistent, right? It's goofy all across the board. Fuck it. Might as well.
So what's been going on, man? I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. We work together, but
I know. Well, I saw you the other day at work. Our next schedule, you and I are together quite a bit in Maine.
Oh, really?
The staffing grids, unless it changes, because it changes all the time anyway.
It changes all the time, but
I think there's one day you and I are in Maine for 8 hours together.
Oh, that's cool.
There's another day we're just
get some podcast planning stuff done, I guess.
Yeah, we're just to know the fuck out of each other.
No, that doesn't happen at all.
No, not at all. We should have some of our coworkers that we've been together.
Hey, everyone says I'm fun to work with, so.
Your face.
Maybe they're just blowing smoke up my ass, huh?
That's exactly it, yeah. The stories they tell when you're not around, Nick. The stories I tell when you're not around.
Bastard.
Yeah, well, hey, whatever. It's all in good fun.
Until someone gets their feelings hurt.
You don't have feelings.
Oh, no, not me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody around me gets their fucking feelings hurt.
Right. I have three feelings. So, there once in a while, one of those three feelings might be a little bruised, but
that's two more than me.
What's the one feeling you have?
Just anger and rage.
Yeah. These days, that's all there is, my friend. The world is burning.
Speaking of that,
fucking burning. Yeah.
Speaking of that,
let's do a little, topical news, maybe.
Well, yeah, because so we've talked about it a couple times in the show before. As far as like police brutality, and it's obviously raised its head again in the last couple. I'd say the last 2 months, 3 months. Yeah. You're seeing more and more about it. I think it really all kind of came to a head this past week in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, have you followed it all, Ian? Or
unfortunately, yeah. As of us recording today, this will go up 2 days from now, but as of today's recording, they officially charged the police officer with third-degree murder and manslaughter. And the Minnesota, whatever the police precinct, gone. Yeah. They just basically packed up and left. Yeah. Said, you guys win, we're done. Yeah. And I'm not going to criticize the protesters, but I don't know if the violence.
I'll get to that. But so if you haven't really, if your head's been in the sand or whatever, you've lived in a cave the last couple of weeks. If you haven't heard, so there's a man by the name of George Floyd. He was detained in Minnesota and by Minneapolis police on May 25th. So that was what, Tuesday? 25th Tuesday? All right. Yeah. And, So the police said that Floyd physically resisted being removed from his vehicle, which if you actually like go back and look at the videos,
he really didn't.
He didn't.
No.
And so, and I didn't write down the cop's name, but there's a
fuck him. He doesn't deserve a name.
Well, I know, yeah. So their video showed, so there's like multiple videos that were taken, but they showed a Minneapolis police officer kneeling on Floyd's neck, and he was on it. So Floyd was pleading for his life for 7 minutes during this video. If you watch it, all right.
Yep.
So he can't breathe, and basically just pleading for his life, and the cop stayed there for another 3 or 4 minutes after Floyd was motionless.
Yeah. I think the report said it was like 1 minute and 52 seconds after he was probably dead. Or about dead. And he was still on top of him. Yeah. So that picture is gruesome. It's so difficult to even see the picture of that.
It is. It's terrible to see a video.
Because the man was handcuffed. There's nothing he could have possibly done on the ground on his belly handcuffed. There was no reason for anyone to even be on top of him.
Yeah. So the police officer that was kneeling on his neck was a 19-year officer who in 19 years had 18 complaints filed against him.
Of brutality or excessive force.
Excessive force. And 2 of those complaints ended in discipline from the department.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like... obviously this guy had a history. Obviously we don't know the validity of the other 16 of those those
doesn't matter. That first disciplinary one should have been the first, and the second one gone.
It should have been. But he's also been involved in 3 police shootings, one that ended in a fatality.
I did not know that one.
Yeah, but like I said, there is such thing as police needing to use force. So just because he was involved in 3 shootings doesn't necessarily mean really anything in this case.
Right.
But, they always bring up what the victim was doing prior to. They never discuss the history of the police. And that's why that's why I felt it was relevant in this case to at least mention the complaints filed against him.
Right. The thing that gets me is that knowing that, I mean, I heard about the previous complaints and the two disciplinary issues.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to that, I mean, it's one thing to charge him with murder, but there needs to be some kind of a huge, I don't know, dust up with the whole.
It's not
force.
It's not just this police force, man. I mean,
this is national. This is a national problem.
It's a national problem, absolutely. And one of the other officers that was on the scene has had multiple complaints filed against him. Also, he was a defendant in 2 different lawsuits, and I think both of them filed, or both of them settled out of court, I believe.
Really?
Maybe just one of them, or maybe just one of them settled out of court.
I haven't heard too much about the other officers involved.
Mm-hmm.
Just mainly the one guy, because I mean the other ones are just as complicit because they didn't stop him. They didn't say, "Hey, look, get off of him. He's good. We're all watching. You go over there." None of that was done, and it should have been done. But I don't know too much about the other officer.
Yeah, that's it. And then the other 2 officers that were there had clean records, which
not anymore. I mean, they're gonna be held culpable to some degree.
Well, yeah,
because they didn't do anything.
Fired. Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You're an accomplice.
Right. Exactly.
You're an accessory to murder, is what you were. But the outrage felt in this community, is something we've seen over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for the past 60 years.
Right.
And the crazy thing is, so the protests have been peaceful, and then
Mostly, yeah.
For some ungodly reason, Thursday night, at the time that the protests were still peaceful, the police decided to shoot tear gas and rubber bullets into the crowd. And it was really at that time that the crowd turned violent.
Right. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the timeline of how it went from marching in the street to looting targets.
Well, that's what it was.
You know,
that's what it was. So it was it was just a civil, a civil protest. Like I said, until the police turned on the crowd.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was something that caused that to happen. If there was, I haven't read about it or seen it on the news or anything else. But it was really kind of at that time that got ugly.
It's going to be tough because you're going to get conflicting reports regardless.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we may never know officially what the actual trigger for it was.
Yeah. I guess my whole thing on the thing though, Ian, is, if you're looking at this and your outrage over protests and riots is greater than your outrage over an unarmed black man being murdered by police.
We should point out an unarmed, innocent black man because he wasn't even he hadn't even committed a crime.
Yeah, he hadn't done anything. And
so I'm not even sure why they had him exit his car. He had not done anything wrong.
No. So I mean, if you're more outraged over the riot than you are, like I said, of an unarmed black man being murdered, then you're kind of the part of the problem in this country.
Yeah, I'm not because I get it. I mean, I don't get it because I'm not in that position, but I understand that there comes a point where the anger and the frustration and the rage just it can't contain itself any longer.
Yeah,
and it's going to explode. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm actually shocked this didn't happen sooner. Yeah. Overall.
I mean,
I just don't want to see it get worse. But not to it's. I mean, granted, yeah, we've had situations like this before. Mm-hmm. Rodney King and other situations,
or even more recently in Ferguson.
Right? Did Ferguson get this bad though, to the point where the police department just basically abandoned the whole city?
I believe so. Yeah.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't recall it going that far, but either way, it's still like you said. This is 60 years of
400 years.
Right. Well, I was gonna say 60 years of a group of individuals who are supposed to have the same freedoms as everyone else, mm-hmm. being treated differently, and then 400 years on top of that added to it. It's mm-hmm. not that surprising. It's going to boil over like this.
Now, did you see any of the reports of about the CNN reporter that was arrested?
I only saw it in the ticker across the screen. So it said that the CNN reporter and film crew were arrested, but then released. It didn't say what they were arrested for or anything like that.
So I saw the video of it, and because they were shooting, they were filming when it all happened, and so the police come up to them and say, hey, you guys can't stand here. Basically, is what they said, and they said it in more words than that, though. So the reporter's like, okay, well, tell us where you want us to stand, and we'll move. And they just arrested the guy. And well, so he was a black reporter. I will say that.
I was just going to ask that because I didn't know.
So the Minneapolis Police Department released a press release stating that it was after the police did a thorough check and found out who he was released, right? Which is bullshit.
It's okay. But he's a black man, and yeah.
It's complete bullshit though, because in the video he's holding his press
right. Well,
in his hand, and he's telling them, "I am a reporter for CNN." Blah blah blah. And so they arrest him, they throw him in the back of the car, they hold him for about 20 minutes, and then they take him to a police station, and then he's released a couple hours later. After the head of CNN called the governor of Minnesota to make a complaint.
Yeah. See, like I said, I didn't know anything about that. I assumed the reporter was black, mm-hmm. Because, I mean, of course.
Yeah.
And the fact that even if he didn't have his credentials on him, say they arrested him and they didn't see his credentials, even obviously they did, it's still racist because once they get him to the police station, go, oh, okay, well, you're free to go because you're a reporter. It's almost like saying you're one of the okay ones.
But that's the thing though. And this was the kind of the point the reporter made too, is like, look, if he said if there was some kind of like misunderstanding at the scene, okay. But he goes, I was put in the back of the police car for over 20 minutes. That's more than enough time to verify who he was.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that it was like all over CNN at that point that he had been arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know.
But the funny thing
I
is
wouldn't be making any trips to Minneapolis anytime soon if I was a person of color.
No. The funny thing was it's not funny.
No, I know.
The other part of the story, I guess, is the fact that the black reporter was there with a white reporter. The white reporter was in a different area of the crowd and obviously had no issues.
Right. That's my point, you know.
Yeah. And
what does this tell the? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say another layer of it is the lie, the blatant lie that was put out by the Minneapolis Police Department about what he was detained for.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't get it. I do not understand. This shouldn't be happening.
No.
In this day and age, this just should not fucking be happening. And I can't wrap my brain around it. I cannot figure it out for the life of me. What is this? Is this a Trump reality? I know part of it is. I know there's, even if it's a small part, it's still, some of this is there, but of course, this kind of activity and behavior has existed long before Trump.
Yeah.
So what is this? You know, I almost feel weird that I can't blame Trump for it. You know what I mean?
It's the way I look at it is I feel like over the past decade, really ever since the beginning of Obama's presidency, that a portion of this country has encouraged racist responses to people of color.
Right.
And since Trump has become president, I think it's goes without beyond a shadow of doubt that racists feel more comfortable environment that we currently live in.
He's legitimized a lot of their behavior and their attitudes, at least in the public forum. Yeah, absolutely.
So we've talked about conspiracies and things like that before on this show. So I did want to bring up the conspiracy aspect of this. Have you heard
one?
Oh yeah, have you heard about the what people believe was an agent provocateur that was in the crowd? Have you heard about this?
No.
So I
haven't heard anything about it.
There was a white man. So there's a white man that showed up after. So it was like near the end of the protest, right? So before it got violent, this guy shows up. He's not in any footage anywhere else during the protest for the hours that had been going on before this. So this white guy shows up wearing a gas mask, carrying an umbrella, and under his umbrella, you can clearly see he has a hammer, right? He's wearing like paramilitary gear and has on military boots. So my first thought was, seeing the pictures of this guy, that he looks like one of the militia type that you would see, right?
Okay.
He's the one that actually started the riot. He goes up to the AutoZone and starts smashing out windows, right? Some of the protesters in the crowd approach him, say something to him, to get him to stop, and he kept smashing out windows and really kind of sparked the whole riot. And then some other people and a reporter kind of approach him, and the guy takes off running, and he's not seen in any other footage the rest of the night.
And how accurate is this information? You said you saw a picture of him.
Oh yeah, I saw pictures and video of him. Yeah, he was absolutely 100% there. But I don't know what he was there for.
Well, I mean, hey, the white supremacist organizations have been itching for a race war for decades.
Yeah. And I guess I'm not saying that he's tied to some bigger thing.
Organization.
I think it was very obvious that this individual went to this spot to start an action that would make the protesters look bad. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, I guess by that standard, he may have succeeded. But if he was all get up, how could you tell he was white?
You could see his face through the gas mask.
Oh, it was just like a half face mask. It wasn't like full blown like World War I gas mask.
No,
that's what I pictured when you said it.
So. No, it was like a respirator gas mask is what he was wearing.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
But you know, it's that and I know people are like, probably think I'm sounding fucking crazy.
Well, here's the thing.
It's been proven. I say it's been proven for 50 to 60 years that even the U.S. government has used people, you know, local police, FBI agents, things like that, to infiltrate groups of protests. They did it all throughout the 60s.
Right. Yeah. Well, and regardless of whether or not this person had ulterior motives or anything like that, it wouldn't have taken much to start this. Like we said before, it
didn't take much.
This was a powder keg that had already been lit.
Yep.
Regardless, so that whether he started it now or an hour later, or you know, it would have happened anyway. I think
probably.
I really don't.
Probably, but so all it took was that spark.
Yeah, and whether or not he was the spark, it doesn't matter because it could have been anybody.
It sure started all this right around that same time. So
yeah,
you know, he starts smashing windows and people start running inside, and that's all over.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I mean, I won't condone the looting of the stores, but every time I saw them smashing a police car, I was like, go for it. It's the police that are mad out. It's the police that have dropped the ball. It's the police that have caused all this. Fuck them. Smash their cars up.
Yeah.
Burn their station down if it's going to come to that.
As long as no one gets hurt in it.
That's the key. That's the key. But
yeah,
people are going to get hurt. I'm sure there are injuries. There have been injuries.
Yeah,
if you're shooting rubber bullets are going to hurt people. Gas is going to hurt people.
Yeah, I haven't heard any kind of reports on injuries or anything like that, though.
Right.
And as far as, you know, the time of recording today, I don't think there's been any kind of issues so far today.
No, there was some protests in Detroit, and they were all peaceful.
There were protests in Ypsi and Ann Arbor also.
Right. Well, because Ypsi has their own issue right now with police brutality.
There was a cop that punched a woman several times.
Yeah, and of course he punched her several times, and then she punches back, which is understandable.
Yeah, you're being attacked.
No fucking rings. So she punches back, and then she's tackled by like 5 police officers.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any fucking sense.
I know.
She shouldn't have been punched in the first place.
I know. And then there was another instance. I don't remember what state it was in, but there's a female EMS.
I heard about that too.
So you heard about that?
The police went to the wrong house.
Yeah, they kicked her door in. Her boyfriend was sitting on the couch, shot at the police because he didn't know what the hell was going on, and then the police shot her. And that was so there's more protests and stuff going on about that too. So this is not just an issue going on in Minnesota. It's a multifaceted kind of.
Oh, of course not. Yeah, it's no question there. And it doesn't matter even if it were just in Minnesota right now. It's been everywhere, anywhere.
Yeah, it really has.
Everywhere's had this problem. California's had this problem. New York's had this problem.
Detroit's had this problem.
Detroit's had this problem. I mean, New York had fucking stop and frisk for what, 5 years?
Yep. Yeah.
Which was clearly racially motivated and racially targeting.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I don't
know if there is one at this point. I mean, with everything that's gone on, at least, you know, even in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, when you have a black man that gets pulled over by the police and legally has a gun on him and is in no way reaching for that gun, that gets shot in his car.
Mm-hmm.
There was no outrage from the NRA or anything like that happened.
No.
There is a deep-seated racism that is ingrained in the culture of this country. And I don't know if there's any way to get rid of that.
Can you say it's in the culture of the country though? or is it
Absolutely.
just in the authoritarian part of the country? Because
that's part of the country. I mean, that's part of the.
It is,
the
but what
culture
I'm
of the
saying
country.
is I think the vast majority of the population itself isn't at anywhere near that level.
Really?
I mean, to pretend,
every single person you see flying a Confederate flag.
But they don't make up. They don't make the majority.
But that's what I'm saying though. Is that's racism that's ingrained in culture.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm not saying that there is no racism anywhere but in the.
In the what, Ian? Because you froze up on me. Can you hear me at least? Hello, Ian.
You froze up for a split second, but
yeah,
everything's fine on my end.
No,
anyway,
it's
yeah. I was gonna say that I don't want to downplay that racism at all. It is a huge problem. There's no question. But it's the aggressive minority that is the problem. It's not the vast majority of the country. That's why it's hard to fathom that this is still going on, because again, the vast majority of this country is content to just get along with each other.
Yeah.
But it's that vocal minority, that aggressive vocal minority that just won't shut the fuck up and go away. Go live back in the 1800s if you want. Go live on an island somewhere. You know, you want an all white island, go fucking live on an island. But
just leave everyone else alone.
Leave us alone. We don't give a shit, you know?
No. So have you been paying attention to the president's response to all this?
Only what I heard yesterday, and it was nothing. He said it was a horrible thing. So but he wasn't going to make any comments on anything until he knew all the facts, which, as we know, that's not his usual MO.
No. So for the first time in the history of Twitter,
I know about that.
Twitter has flagged a sitting president for inciting violence.
I heard about that. Not inciting violence.
Yeah, he did.
No, I'm just saying. What I heard about
that's what it was for.
They dropped all I heard was they had fact checked his tweet.
That's the second one. That was the first one. That was the first one. This one was yesterday.
I only heard about the first one then.
So Donald Trump puts out a tweet that says, this is word for word, this is what the tweet says. These thugs in capital letters.
I did see that tweet.
These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty, and we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts.
I did see that.
That last line is what got him flagged by Twitter. Do you know where that last line comes from?
No.
Have you heard that line before? When the looting starts, the shooting starts. That there was a Miami chief of police back in 1968 that the police were doing a crackdown on what he called, and air quotes for you people listening to the podcast, young hoodlums is what he called them. So they were doing a crackdown. Yeah. So they were going after young hoodlums, and he's quoted as saying that he didn't care if he didn't care if they were accused of police brutality, is what he said. And that's when he said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And it was all this that kind of led to the riots, the race riots in South Florida in the late 60s. So there's a history to that line, you know.
Okay. I wasn't familiar with that.
And
I'm familiar with the riots, but I wasn't familiar with that line.
I guarantee that Donald Trump knows the history of that line before he uttered it. Because if not, where did you get that line from, you know?
He's not very clever, so it's hard to say.
But, the president has repeatedly used the term thugs in reference to black protesters numerous times during his presidency. So that part of it's not a surprise. I do find it, I find it comical that Twitter is now not censoring the president, but flagging the president's tweets, because, he's gone on, he spent, it's not just the over the course of his presidency. It was prior to that. He spent the last 10 years on Twitter spreading false information and stirring up things that he's trying to use for political purpose. And it's about damn time that someone that one of these platforms actually takes a stand and say, look, we can't let this go on anymore. Now, granted, it should have happened 10 years ago, but.
Right. Well, and Mark Zuckerberg was on TV yesterday and this was just the first tweet. This was the first, the one that was pulled for having false information on it. He said, it's not social media's responsibility to do that, to determine what's true and what's not. And you know what? I think
Facebook does also. Facebook does the same thing.
Well, I'm just saying. But I think you hold a certain level of responsibility as a platform, not to stifle free speech, but to stifle hate speech, to stifle violent speech. I don't have a problem with that.
You do understand that there's no free speech on Twitter. There's no such thing as free speech on Facebook.
No, because and I know that the courts have been debating that for years.
Freedom of speech is something. What that means is the government can't take that right away from you.
Right.
It has nothing to do with, you can't sit here and cry that they're violating your free speech when you don't have that right on a social media platform.
Right.
That's the thing that gets me about it.
It's allowed. I mean, nobody's censoring us.
No.
But we're not inciting violence. We're not passing hate.
Well, Ian does a little bit, just,
I don't incite violence. I suggest lovingly that maybe certain people might want to get punched or not. I don't know. I don't actually. I've never done that. I've never suggested anyone get hurt. Ever.
Oh, you did say to punch a Nazi. There were
I did. That was on our show.
Yeah, that was on the podcast.
That was on our show. Yeah. I'm still okay with that.
You can punch a Nazi. It's all right.
Punch a fucking Nazi.
So
they shouldn't exist in 2020 anyway.
No, they really shouldn't.
They shouldn't exist past 1945.
Yeah. Well, they do, Ian.
Unfortunately,
remember the Nazis live inside the Hollow Earth.
Well, they should stay there then. They don't need to be on the outside.
Which still to this day is my favorite conspiracy theory. That's like the batshit craziest of the batshit crazies.
You know, it's funny. Just a little side note with that,
because we always enjoy a good side note,
right? That conspiracy theory. That's funny. There was a conspiracy theory that Hitler had set up a moon base. Yeah. It had Nazis, and they made a movie out of it. But it was just a movie. Like, it wasn't about Nazis. It was about him doing that. It was a movie that, okay, this is what happened. This is a science fiction movie called Iron Sky, where Nazis had built this moon base, and it reached the level where they could come back and attack Earth. It's just the funniest thing ever.
I thought we talked about that on one of our conspiracy shows. Maybe not.
I don't think so, because it was after that I realized that the Iron Sky movie, because I knew of the Iron Sky movie, that they had gotten the idea for that movie from a conspiracy theory.
Maybe I'm thinking of Saddam Hussein's Stargate. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
That one, yeah, because I actually brought that one up at the last conspiracy theory episode, and we had already covered it.
Yeah, but so the president has now kind of moved on to calling for. Do you know what? So have you ever heard of the Communications Decency Act? It was
no. So I'm sure it sounds like something.
So he's calling for repeal of Section 230 of that act. Okay, so Section 230 reads: no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. So basically what it's saying is a company like Twitter or Facebook can't be held liable for the information that its users are posting online. So the Communications Decency Act was passed in the late 90s, I want to say. Okay. So I want to say that 1998 sticks out in my head for some reason. Okay. So obviously it was before things like Twitter and Facebook. So it's not, the act wasn't written for them, but they kind of fall underneath that. So the president, because of Twitter censoring him, is now calling for this section to be repealed. So to open these social media platforms up to liability.
Right.
Because, the president loves suing people.
Yes. Oh, we know.
Just ask Bill Maher.
Just Bill Maher. Hell, if we had anything of value, he probably would have sued us.
That's true. It's I think this is obviously it's a ridiculous thing. So it's what other purpose is there really of opening up these companies to liability? I mean, it's just,
if it would have been anyone else, I don't know, but with him, we know why he's doing it.
Obviously, well, that's what I'm saying.
To be able to sue them.
That's what I'm saying. There is no other reason.
Right.
There is no other reason to take this action. And now you're starting to see other Republicans in Washington kind of call for the repeal of this act also.
Well, of course, they'll fall in line behind their leader.
The all-powerful one?
He's the anointed one. Haven't you heard? He's God's anointed soldier on earth.
Leave God. Leave God out of it.
I'm not the one saying it. The evangelicals are saying it.
Look, this is the funny thing. I don't want to get too far into this, but right. Evangelical Christians in the United States are a joke, first off, because
they vote.
Hold on. So evangelical Christians helped elect the first atheist president.
And who's that?
Donald Trump.
But he doesn't act like one.
But he is.
Well, he may be. I would assume, to be honest with you, I would say that there's probably a good 20 to 30% of the entire government that are atheists to some degree, or at least agnostic. But I
would say agnostic, but not.
Yeah, but they have to play the I go to church every Sunday and God is very powerful in my life. They have to play that card because they won't get elected otherwise.
Donald Trump doesn't even play that game.
No, but he does. He
doesn't.
Did you see that? And he does. He uses God all the time when it's useful for him.
The only thing that Donald Trump believes in is Donald Trump.
Right, but no, he uses God. He says it all the time. He said, "God bless the family of George Floyd." He said it in that. That was in that tweet. So he does use it when he wants to.
Pull Donald Trump off to the side and ask him to quote any part of the Bible.
He could probably quote like something that's random and stupid, but you're right. He couldn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying he uses it. Mike Pence, on the other hand, he's a true believer, but Donald Trump, he's strictly using it. He panders to evangelical,
and that's why I said it's funny that evangelical Christians were a driving force in electing the first atheist president.
Yeah. I don't think he's the first. I really don't.
He probably is.
I don't think so. Technically, I think Thomas Jefferson was. He was a deist, but
he was a deist.
That's almost the same thing.
No, it's not. Because
in a sense,
deists still believe in God and everything else. They just don't believe that God controls.
Yeah, they believe
like
he kind of created us and then went away, flew away. He's not there. He's not there anymore. Is what I'm saying. You're right. It's
still it is. Because it's still Christianity, but
right.
They still believe in creation.
No, there could be Muslim deists too, to some degree. They could all be the same. When you see, that's the problem when you say God, you have to define God, because there's 4,000 fucking different religions on this planet.
Oh yeah, and there's actually one religion.
To define them.
There's one religion. I don't remember what religion it is. I met somebody when I worked in Nashville that was part of this religion that believed that all religions were actually the same religion. That every God is all the same God, and that God, and I found it really interesting, and that God, the only reason that there is like a Muslim faith versus a Christianity faith is because God presented himself in a way that those people that created Christianity would understand, and he presented himself to Asians in a way that Asians would understand. So there's a whole separate religion in each, region, basically. But
I've heard that theory too. It still doesn't make any sense, because if he's going to do that, why does he tell them to kill all the other religions, and why that religion is the only true one?
Well, I think that's can be debated. I believe that's because a lot of that's not part of the faith. A lot of that is human interpretation of faith.
Well, he needs to clear some things up then.
I find
God, he can do it.
I think it's clear enough as it is, but okay.
Oh, it's clear that slavery's okay because the Bible says it is, and Jesus never said it wasn't. Jesus never. In fact, he tells you that you should obey your masters.
Jesus also didn't say anything about homosexuality either, but evangelicals like to go on and carry on about that.
But let's face facts. If you can either say that slavery is moral or you can say it's not moral. But according to the Bible, it's moral, and I say it's not moral, and I believe that by that nature, I'm more moral than the Bible, thereby more moral than God, who doesn't do anything to dissuade, in fact, encourages throughout the Bible slavery of other human beings. So, I'm just saying.
Whatever, Ian. Whatever.
Just saying. You believe what you want. We're not gonna have this argument.
We've had this argument before, Ian.
Yeah. At least I'm not adhering to a religion that endorses slavery.
It doesn't endorse slavery. Absolutely 100% does not endorse slavery.
Have you read the fucking Bible?
I have read the Bible, and I'm sure I probably read it more times than you.
Maybe,
the Old Testament,
I've only read it once.
You do understand that the Old Testament says a lot of different things that is overridden by the New Testament. Okay?
What does the New Testament say about slavery? Nothing.
Okay.
Except Jesus says to obey your masters.
What this says is the New Testament.
Who are your masters?
Jesus coming down and saying, look, I want you to use me as an example for how you should live your life, is what the New Testament is.
Then why is it so long? Because they could do that you can do that in a fucking paragraph.
It is what it is, man. It's a book. You've read a Stephen King book before, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's really long too.
Much, and they're yeah, but at least there's enjoyment at the end of the Stephen King book.
Whatever.
The story makes sense. The story tends to make sense.
The story does make sense. It does.
No.
Let's get back to our topic.
Well, it does make sense if you like slavery and shit like that.
I didn't say that. It has nothing to do with slavery. And you know that. You're just being a dipshit now.
Hey,
so
if slavery's so bad, why doesn't Jesus say it's bad?
Because it's not in the fucking New Testament.
Why? But it is. He says to obey your masters.
Okay, Ian, in the Old Testament, there's rules on how to eat blood, and Jesus Christ didn't speak about that in the New Testament either.
No, but then he goes to the Last Supper and he says, "This is my body, this is my blood." The transfiguration.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it's still fucking magic, fairy tales.
It's not.
All right, whatever. We'll move on. We're good. Let's move on.
What else? Did you have anything else to add to the topic that we were talking about?
There's nothing more I need to add. It's right there. You just you like to cherry pick the good stuff, and that's fine.
That's not what we're talking about. Ian, prior to that, we were actually talking about Trump and racism. And before I actually move on to the topic of the show we were supposed to have, I was going to let you finish that up.
No, Trump's a racist. That's okay. I don't have anything more to add. Trump's a racist.
So
the Minneapolis police force is racist.
So we're what, 5 months away from the election? 4.5 months away from the election?
Yeah, thereabouts.
First off, do you plan on voting in person?
If it's available, yes, I do plan on voting in person. But if it's not, then I'm happy to vote by mail.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to vote. I'm just going to mail in my ballot.
Yeah. Well, just be careful, because if Trump gets his way, that's not going to be valid. Even if you do it, your vote will be thrown out.
He can't do anything to invalidate mail-in ballots.
He's trying.
You do understand that Trump votes by mail also, right?
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I know. Trust me, I know. The hypocrisy is not lost on me. But
mail-in voting is something that's been going on in this country for a very long time.
I know.
I mean, most of the West.
You're not telling me anything I don't know.
Most of the states out west have been doing it for a decade or more.
Right. Well, it's very simple. If the polls are open, for me, it is not an inconvenience at all to stop on my way home from work. It's literally, I pass my polling place every day on my way home. Yeah. It would take 5 minutes to go in and walk in and vote, as long as it's available. But if it's not, you live in a white area.
As do I. So you're right. Our lines.
My area is not as white as yours.
That's very true. So our lines won't be as long as some other areas where you'd have to stand in line for, say, 3 or 4 hours at a minimum to vote.
Right. Well, and I work midnight, so I get off of work at 7. The polls they open at 7, if I'm not mistaken. So by the time I get there, it's like 20 after 7, maybe 7:30. Most people, you're gonna get the elderly crowd, but that's about it. And that's been my experience with this polling place because I've lived here since 2015, so I voted in 1, 2, 3, 4 separate times there, I think.
Okay.
We count primaries. I think 4 times, and I've never had a problem, but then I know other people going later have had to wait longer. So I get lucky by having to go in the morning. So
I think one way that they could kind of get around, or I mean, if mail-in ballot, first off, mail-in voting has been legal in Michigan since 2016.
Okay.
We voted for it.
Yeah.
And it passed.
Well, my dad voted in 2016 for. Well, he voted absentee. Is that the same thing?
Yes. In 2016, we passed the law in Michigan that you don't have to have a reason to do absentee voting.
Right.
Which that's all this is. So the Attorney General is going to mail a application out to everyone in the state, and if you'd like to apply for mail-in voting, you could do it. It's not that big of an issue. But the president and a lot of other Republicans are actually making a big deal, especially when the president's putting out tweets about how the Attorney General is mailing out ballots, which is not the case. It's just an application.
Right. Well, he's gonna spin it however he wants, and that, I think, it's all part of a larger plan of his. Because if he loses, he's going to contest the election. He's going to say it was rigged. He's going to say, the election was stolen, no matter what. It doesn't matter how those votes get.
I don't know. I don't know if he's going to.
I think he will. I really do.
I can see it being just as likely that he loses the election, and then he sees it as an opportunity to be still the de facto leader of the Republican Party for the next 4 years, and then run again in 2024.
It's possible. You can never guess what's going on in that man's fucking head, but
well, it's real easy what's going on. The only thing that goes on in his head is what is going to benefit him the most.
Right. But even if that is his plan, he's not going to go quietly. He may want to go quietly in order to do what you just said, but he's not going to go quietly. No. He's going to rile up his base.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, though, is I think he's going to use it as an opportunity to do that every day for the next 4 years.
Right.
Against whoever's the winner. Against Biden, hopefully.
Biden, right. Yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to tell people elections have consequences. This is everything that's been going on this whole fucking year, if not for the last almost 4 years.
Yeah.
It's as clear as day. Elections have fucking consequences. That means as much as you may hate it, you don't vote third party. And as much as you don't want to do it, if you're a registered voter, get the fuck off your ass and vote, whether it's by mail.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's why Republicans are fighting against mail-in voting,
right? Because the more people vote, the less likely they are to win.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why I think if the Democrats don't want to do push for a full mail-in voting strategy in the state of Michigan, they need to open up early voting then. Because in a lot of these bigger, busier precincts where you typically have that 3, 4, 5 hour wait to vote, if they had early voting for, say, even a week prior to the election, I think you'd really cut down on the lines.
Right. I agree with that. I agree with that. The problem is that in a non-pandemic environment, that would be very simple to do as long as you can get it passed through whatever. But that's going to be tough. Like I said, I'm not even sure if they're going to allow in-person voting anyway, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 months with Corona.
Yeah.
I mean, we know we're going to get a spike. It's just a matter of how much of a spike. If it spikes really bad and really high, there may not be any other option other than to mail in your vote.
Mm-hmm.
And early voting wouldn't even be an option then. The problem is making sure that every registered voter gets the opportunity to get a ballot and mail it in the amount of time.
See, and I don't think if we get into like late August, early September, and there's not some system in place to do full mail-in voting, there would be enough time to get it done.
No.
There wouldn't be enough time to A, get everything printed, B, get everything sent out to everyone through the mail, because it's definitely going to clog up the postal service.
Absolutely.
And then C, allow them to the citizens to have time to mail their ballots back. So it just, unless it's something in place here by the end of July, first week of August, there's no way in hell you would get something like that done. Not on that kind of scale when you're talking, millions and millions of ballots.
And what gets me is that you would think that, and maybe I'm just naive to think this, but I think at this point in the game, there should be a way for them to be able to set up some kind of online voting that's fair and accurate.
Encrypted,
yeah. I mean, I know
there's got to be,
but there's got to be a way they can do that, or eventually need to do that. They need to do that.
I mean, if American Idol could do it, I don't know why the government can't.
Well, there's a lot less writing on American Idol.
I know that. I know that. I know
that. Government, but
it was a joke, Ian.
I know. Well, no, I've made that joke before too, as far as in terms of output. It's like American Idol can get millions of votes in a matter of an hour, but we can't even get our citizens to stand up and one day out of every 4 years or every 2 years and go and make their voices known to their elected officials.
Mm-hmm.
So I've made that reference before, but I think the next step really, I mean, this year we're just going to have to kind of play it by ear, but I think the next step is we really need to push for online voting of some kind, some kind of electronic voting process. That's like I said, that's encrypted. We want it to be fair.
And there's ways that can be encrypted but here's the thing though, Republicans know that historically speaking, it's been proven time and time again, every single election, the more people that vote, the less
Republicans there are.
The less chance there is for Republicans to win.
Yeah, I mean, they're still going to have their states. You're still going to have Republicans in power in Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee. You're still going to have.
I don't know if you would in all those states.
Alabama definitely. Alabama's red.
Well,
they're deep red.
Yeah, but how much does the Democratic vote get suppressed in a state like Alabama because of the way it's run? I mean, because it happened in Tennessee. I mean, when I've talked about on the show before that there was several times that we went to go vote, and there would be, I'd say, at least at a minimum 3/4 of the ballot that did not have a Democrat running.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all gerrymandering. That's redistricting and everything else.
Well, it's not. No, that's not that. I mean, that's you're not even having Democratic candidates come out to run because they've got no shot.
Right. Well, that's my point.
So when
some of those states might,
But the way the things are set up to suppress the vote, they know that they're not going to win. So there's a disenfranchisement that happens in those red states that probably happens in states like California and New York also on the other end of
certain districts certain districts, I'm sure. Well, and obviously Michigan is you and I've kind of disagreed on this, but I really think Michigan's teetering on becoming a red state.
No,
even though I don't know
the power of
what I see,
the power of the vote in southeastern Michigan and Flint and Grand Rapids, it won't turn red consistently because of those areas.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to tell you. Trump was here in Michigan and he was at the Ford plant by where we grew up, which is right now
right down the road.
Right down the road from me. And I forgot I knew he was in Michigan, but I didn't know he was going to be at that particular plant.
Yeah.
And I went, where did I go that day? I went somewhere. I don't remember, but the
did you walk out?
Store?
Did you walk outside and go, man, it smells like shit out here. What the?
No, there was a weird gloom in the air. There was a weird gloom in the air, but the party store, it used to be Quick Stop. You worked there for a while. Mm-hmm. That parking lot was nothing but Trump supporters. It was a big fucking Trump rally.
Oh, and absolutely.
I was just unbelievable. I kept driving. I drove by it like 3 times. I just kept going, oh my God. Kids. And you know what was really pissing me off? Because that's a busy intersection.
It is.
Right? All the adults were standing behind, and they had their children up near the fucking road with Trump signs. And I kept thinking, those kids are going to fucking get hit. But I know why they did it, because people aren't going to yell at a child. They're less likely to yell at a child if they're driving by. So they intentionally put their children. Well, yeah, but they intentionally put their children on the fucking front lines along the street as a barrier to prevent people from yelling at them. I'm sure of it.
Well, either that or they put their kids out in front of them so they can keep an eye on them.
Like they care.
Hey,
if they right. why would they do that? Those kids would get fucking hit. They're not keeping an eye on them.
You're around a bunch of Trump supporters, so there's got to be some pedophiles in the crowd.
Just being a Trump supporter doesn't necessarily mean you're a pedophile.
But if you're a pedophile, you're probably a Trump supporter.
I wouldn't know. I'm neither, so I don't know. I can't comment.
Whatever. They are the deplorables.
I mean, the same.
That was the badge of honor that they wore.
Yeah, I mean, the same could be said about Catholics. I wouldn't say that about all Catholics. So looking at the 2020 election, where do you think Biden's going to go as far as VPs? Because I've got a list here to kind of go over, but. Well, I'd say hit your list because I honestly don't know. I've looked at.
Okay. We'll just.
I will say this. Let me say this. I will say that recently I read an article that. There are certain minority groups that are asking him not to pick Amy Klobuchar, which I agree with. So I'm going to say that she's probably out of the running because Biden is really going to push for the minority vote, which he needs to. And he really needs to respond to everything going on right now in Missouri.
Yeah.
Even more so than he has been because he's been doing a good job, but he needs to respond more. But I think he actually even went there and met with the family, George Floyd's family, in person. I think so. I saw it as, I don't know if I misread it, that he had or was going to, but I read some article and it said something about him actually speaking to, in person, George Floyd's family. So maybe he hasn't done it yet, but he needs to. He should do that because the president's not doing it. He's not going to either. But as far as Amy Klobuchar, I not even want to talk about her because I don't like her, and I know let's a couple minority.
Let's run down through this list, okay? Because I put them in alphabetical order, so we'll kind of go through it that way. So we'll start with Stacey Abrams. Okay. So she's the, I don't know if you know her background at all, but she's the former House Minority Leader in the Georgia House of Representatives. She was a Georgia representative from 2007 until 2017 when she decided to run for governor, and she almost won the governorship there. And
it was a very minor margin, if memory serves.
It was a very close race, and there were lots of claims of voter suppression in minority areas in and around Georgia. So I mean, I see that she's at least a viable candidate. I just don't really know what she really stands for. I know she's a big proponent for expanding Medicare, as kind of the primary way to deal with the healthcare inequality in the U.S. And
which I used to be against, but I'm kind of moving more in that direction. I think we really need to move towards the strengthening the Affordable Care Act and pushing forward with that. But
as far as like the healthcare line goes, I've always been at least in the last year or so, I've been a proponent of what Pete Buttigieg was talking about, which is Medicare for all who want it.
Yeah.
I
like that too.
If you want to have the Medicare option, there's an option there for you to buy into it.
Right.
Which is, something that the Affordable Care Act was originally structured to do with the public option, but because of Joe Lieberman, it got taken out.
Right. There's a lot of things that we can blame Joe Lieberman for.
Yeah, like George Bush being president.
Well, Partly. I think he didn't help the situation.
I think if he wasn't Gore's running mate, I think Gore probably wins the election in 2000.
Possibly.
But
we still have the Florida court
the hang chads and all the other stuff. Yeah. But going back to Stacey Abrams, the only other thing I know about her is that she opposes school vouchers, which, I think most Democrats do. I mean, it's just.
I do. I'm opposed to it. If you want to send your kid to private school, that's fine. No one's stopping you.
You shouldn't be taking tax dollars away from public education to do it.
That's it, exactly. Because the public education system is already struggling, and now you're giving money to schools that are also getting tuition. They don't need it. So either that, or you need to start charging tuition for public schools, which is definitely not an option. So it just doesn't work. Private schools are fucking private. You pay for them because you want to. It's not a right.
But a lot of people feel that Stacey Abrams is one of the front runners. But I think one of the big knocks against her is she hasn't run on like a national stage.
Ticket, right.
So, I don't really know how she's gonna kind of fare in the national election.
Is there a way to? I mean, I don't know if they televise gubernatorial debates, but I'd be curious to see how she did in the debates.
They're televised. I mean, Georgia. You can look them up. I'm sure they're on YouTube or something.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, because I would imagine. I mean, Mike
she's a good speaker. I mean,
but it's not about speaking. You can be a great speaker and not be a good debater.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would even say that Obama is a much better speaker than he is a debater. He's good at talking and discussing. But when it comes to structured debates, I always felt he was a little weak.
Yeah.
Especially good that he had weaker opponents.
When he ran in 2008.
Yeah,
I felt that when he ran in 2012. I mean, he was
better, but he had weaker components.
That and he had 4 years behind him to kind of show, hey, this is what I've done. So kind of the next candidate, kind of want to move on and blow through some of these, but the next one is Tammy Baldwin, which I haven't heard her in the conversation.
I saw her name. I don't know who she is. I don't know why she's not ringing a bell with me. But I have seen her on lists.
If you saw her face, you'd recognize her. But she's the junior senator from Wisconsin. She was first elected in 2012. Prior to that, she was in the House of Representatives from 99 to 2013. Tammy Baldwin is noted for being the first openly gay woman elected to Congress.
Okay. Maybe that's how I know her name, too.
She was also a vocal critic of the Iraq War in 2002 and voted against the authorization.
Okay.
That'll
win her some brownie points with a lot of Democrats.
She also co-sponsored a bill in 2007 that I obviously didn't end up going anywhere, but her bill proposed the impeachment of Dick Cheney and Attorney General Alberto Gonzales. I didn't realize he was the Attorney General in 2007 still, but I guess he was.
God, yeah, it's been so long. I don't even remember now.
She's also been an outspoken advocate of the single-payer healthcare system. She wrote an op-ed in 2017 called "Why I Support Medicare for All." So,
well, there's nothing wrong with having a VP that is more on the Bernie and Elizabeth Warren side of the healthcare issue, because it's not about having someone that agrees 100% with you. It's about finding someone who can help you find some balance.
Yeah,
because it's going to require a lot of balance to get healthcare fixed in this country.
Absolutely. I just didn't realize, like, I knew who Tammy Baldwin was. I didn't realize she had such a long legislative history in the U.S.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that either. When you mentioned that she was the first openly gay, that rang a bell. Now I know who you're talking about. So, but yeah. And
she's also
I don't know.
She's also co-sponsored several gun control bills also. She kind of she ticks a lot of boxes, but she's also a white female from Wisconsin, but she's a gay female from Wisconsin.
Right. Well, Biden never specified ethnicity when he said he said woman, female. That was what he said. But under current circumstances, I don't think it'd be a a bad choice to go with a woman of color either.
Yeah.
That's qualified, no.
Absolutely. She absolutely.
Action stuff going on.
I think everyone on here is qualified.
Right. To some degree. I'm not. I really don't like.
I would say. I would say that Stacey Abrams is probably the least qualified of anyone on here, but there's probably one more, but I'll get to it.
Right.
So the next one is,
and that's not a statement of she couldn't be qualified. It's just
correct.
Her qualifications don't reflect
correct.
that yet.
Correct. The next one is Val Demings, she was first elected to the House in 2016 out of Florida. She was a retired law enforcement officer, and she began working for the Orlando Police Department in 1983. Worked her way all the way up to in 2007. She was appointed chief of police for Orlando. So she's got like the law enforcement background. And then she goes and she's in the House. She's been in the House, like I said, since 2016. She was one of the impeachment officers in the Trump impeachment earlier this year. And but as far as she doesn't really have much of a legislative background. Like I said, she's only been there for a couple of years.
And quite honestly, the impeachment was an embarrassment.
I don't think it was Val Demings was, I think, one of the kind of stars during the shit show that was the Senate trial. But I think she really kind of stood out and made a name for herself during that time. But she's an advocate for gun control. And she's another person that wants to kind of expand on and defend the Affordable Care Act instead of moving to more of a universal healthcare system.
Right. No. Aside from the baggage of the impeachment, because you got to admit it's baggage. It is.
I don't know if it is.
That's hard to say.
Not for her. I don't think the Democrats did. I don't know. It's interesting.
In hindsight, they shouldn't have done it. Because
we said at the time that they shouldn't have done it. But I think the pandemic has kind of clouded over a lot of what happened during that trial.
Well, not only that, but the American memory span is about 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. The next one I had on my list is Kamala Harris, who, at least, if
I don't even think she stands a chance. I don't think she's. Well,
she's one of the front runners for the VP position.
I think that's speculation. I don't think she's on Biden's short list.
I think she is. As far as, obviously she's a female, she's a black female. Outside of that, though, strategically, California her doesn't really do much for you. Whereas
and during the debates, the attacks she had on him and his record, I think it would either make him look bad or make her look bad, because the way she challenged him on some of his legislation in terms of race, and then her joining him could be seen as hypocritical.
I don't know. Like you said, though, voters have a very short memory, but the people we've talked to before now, though, talked about is, Stacey Abrams, Tammy Baldwin, Val Demings, all three of them kind of geographically check a box for an area in need. Whether it's Georgia, Florida, or Wisconsin. Those are all places where picking any of those three would help Biden, at least in those states. Kamala Harris doesn't really do that.
No, she doesn't.
And the next one I was going to talk about, Amy Klobuchar, kind of in the same boat. She obviously, if Biden is looking to strengthen his spot in the African American community, Amy Klobuchar does the exact opposite.
Like I said, there's been several minority groups that have actually come out against her.
Yeah,
as an option. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was the NAACP, but it was another group specifically that was, it's big, almost as big as that.
Yeah.
That I know said no, don't. Mm-hmm. We don't like her policies.
And Amy Klobuchar is popular in Minnesota, but she's not popular in African American communities in Minnesota.
Is Minnesota really going to be? You're going to have to really. Minnesota's a mess right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, like, you want to talk about Amy Klobuchar, I haven't seen her out at least talking about any of the stuff that's going on in her state right now.
Which, so if she was legitimately either on a list or suspected she was on a list,
she would have been out front. Yeah, and that's why
she should be doing.
That's why I don't think she's a serious contender for it.
No, which is good because I don't really like her. I don't know. I don't really know why, but I just don't like her at all.
Yeah,
I never did. Even on the debate stage, I just couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand her.
Mm-hmm. The next one I kind of had on my list was somebody that I think would make the most sense for Biden to pick as a VP is Elizabeth Warren.
I don't get me wrong. I think having her would win over a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but a chunk of Bernie supporters, which Biden does need to get to some degree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think she helps him with the younger, more progressive voter.
Yeah.
Which is where Biden struggles. That's where Bernie Sanders was able to win votes in the primary process with younger voters. And if Biden looks at that and says, look, this is an area I need to strengthen, that picking Elizabeth Warren geographically doesn't really do a whole lot for you.
Right. But policy-wise.
Policy-wise, it does.
Yeah. Here's another option. It wouldn't work because she doesn't have a national brand, but she checks two boxes. She's a woman of color. She's not African American. She's native. She's Hawaiian. Tulsi Gabbard, but yeah, she's an Elizabeth Warren-ish as far as her policies go.
Yeah,
but she doesn't have the national recognition.
No, and she hasn't even. I don't even think she's on the short list at this point.
No, probably not. But she would check the two boxes if she had more of a presence in national politics.
But I think Elizabeth Warren's age is kind of a knock against her.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I mean, she kind of. I think she really kind of completes the ticket for him.
Yeah. It's hard to say. I don't know because I think in some circles Elizabeth Warren might hurt him, but the gain would probably outweigh the loss.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I honestly I hate to say it, and I don't want to. I know it smacks of tokenism, but I honestly think he really should be. I've kind of changed my tune on Stacey Abrams just because I think he needs a woman of color.
Yeah. I don't know. I want to get your opinion on the next person though, because the next one is the one that personally I want him to pick, even though it's going to really hurt the state of Michigan, and that's Gretchen Whitmer.
Oh, see, yeah.
I think
she's toxic.
I don't think she is. I think she's somebody that obviously does not shy away from a fight. She's gone after Trump time and time again. Yeah. I think she would more than be able to hold her own on debate stage with Mike Pence. She's already in the gubernatorial race in was it 2016? No,
2018.
2018 is when she took office. Yeah. She ran against a Mike Pence kind of conservative. And Ian, you got a really funny frozen look on your face. Hello, Ian. But yeah, I think that she's somebody that really helps. And like I was saying, she's already ran against a Mike Pence kind of conservative, so I don't think that would kind of be an issue.
My issue,
and also, if you look at if you say what you want about the way she's handled the pandemic in the state of Michigan, I think she's done a fantastic job.
Well, I was going to say that.
She's part of the leadership that took this state from being the third most cases in the United States to now I think we're 8th, and we're going down. And we're going down, and we're going down in deaths. Other states are now passing us as far as total death rate, and I think that she has handled it 100% correctly.
Right, and as well as I think anyone could have, honestly, given the situation. Yeah, I mean, I have other issues with her. I voted for her, but it was kind of a reluctant vote.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have been my first choice.
No, I liked Abdul Al-Said, which is I don't know if you've noticed, but he's actually been on CNN.
Has he? No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, because he's a physician, And
right, I remember. Yeah, I remember.
I really liked him when he was running for the Democratic nomination in Michigan. But look, I'm sorry, man, you're not going to win a statewide election with the name Abdul Al Said in the state of Michigan.
No, unfortunately not. But I'm not sure if he's American born. Is he?
Who?
Said.
Yeah, he was born in Michigan.
Was he? Okay, I wasn't sure because I know but it didn't matter for governorship.
It doesn't matter for but that's what I'm talking about. Is we were talking about the gubernatorial race that she was in, and I liked a lot of the things he talked about. But the thing is with Gretchen Whitmer, the more I read about her and understood her policy decisions and things that she's done in the state of Michigan in the last decade or so, I liked her even more.
Like I said, I haven't had a problem with the way she's been handling the pandemic. I don't know. I get the feeling she's a bit like reactive more than proactive at times.
You really think so? I wouldn't call her reactive. I wouldn't call her reactive. I'd call her pragmatic. I think because she took a lot of flack for how long it took her to put like the stay-at-home orders in Michigan and things like that. And I think it was more so the fact that she didn't want to rush to a judgment. She wanted to make sure that she had all the correct information and made sure that she was doing the correct thing for the state of Michigan at that time.
No, I'm not referring to this. It's more on like, she ran on fixing the roads and everything, but everything, and I know, don't get me wrong, I understand that it's not just her. She has to deal with the legislature and everything else, taxing and everything else. But I just think her behavior towards accomplishing some of her goals has been more on a reactive level rather than a proactive level. It's not a knock. And it's a minor thing, but I don't know. I think what I mean when I say she's toxic is Gretchen Whitmer is going to lose Biden. I don't know how much, a small percentage, maybe even a non-problematic percentage of the independent vote.
I don't know if she does. I don't know if she would.
I think she does. I think
because she's
especially here in Michigan, because there's a lot of people who think her reaction to the pandemic has been overbearing and overstretching.
But like you said earlier, a lot of voters have a 2-minute attention span. Well, and even 5 or 4.5 months away, we are still a long way out from the election. As far in the political landscape. And I think that the thing that would really hurt her is if she joined the ticket, it creates the opportunity for the Republicans and Trump to say, look, you're running away from your state in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
That's what
I was going to say.
That's what would hurt her.
Our American memory is short and fleeting, but it doesn't take long for the right politician.
Yeah.
Not the right one, but the smart one to bring up all the past. Trump's great at it.
He'll do it. I know. But, he's going to bring that up with anyone. And with anyone he picks. I do want to throw out a kind of left field one, and it'll never happen. But what do you think about Michelle Obama?
Honestly, I was going to bring her up for the exact same way about 3 people ago. I think if he picked Michelle Obama, he would win in a landslide. Landslide.
He would win in a Reagan 84 landslide.
I think he could guarantee, as long as Michelle was willing, 16 years of Democratic control.
Probably.
Barring any huge disasters. But I think if he picked Michelle and she was willing to do it, because I think, honestly, he'd pick her in a second, too. I don't think she wants to do it. And I don't blame her. I don't think
she does either.
I don't blame her one bit. But if Michelle Obama joined the ticket, I honestly believe we could guarantee 16 years of Democratic control.
Yeah. The big thing is, though, the big knock is, obviously she's, a lawyer and she knows how to speak, but I don't know how she would do on that stage in a debate style situation. Obviously she's got a husband and a team that has been through it before.
Not only that, but I think we've only ever seen her.
She couldn't do worse than Sarah Palin. I mean,
no. Well, Are you kidding?
My foot couldn't do worse.
I would say Michelle Obama and Sarah Palin are not in the same league at all.
No.
I mean, even comparing them almost seems insulting to Michelle. But I don't know if we actually know, because we've only ever seen her in a first lady position, which is one of, being resigned and and things being scripted, but also, her focus has been what her first lady roles were. Yeah. However, I think a slightly untethered Michelle Obama could be a firebrand.
Yeah.
Oh, I really do. I think she could I think she would wipe the floor with fucking Mike Pence, especially if she was pushed. I think if he pushed the right button and made her just a little angry and she let go just a little bit, I think she could just destroy him on a debate stage.
Yeah. I don't know. So kind of to kind of wrap it up, out of those people that we talked about, give me hold on. Give me two names. One that you think, give me one that you think will be the nominee, and one that you want to be.
Well, I want Michelle Obama. There's no question there, but she's not technically on the list. I think Stacey Abrams, and I'm okay with that. I wasn't, but I am now. Mm-hmm. Personally, I think I would like to see a Biden-Warren ticket. That would be my other choice, I guess. But I really I'm quite content with a Stacey Abrams ticket right now, because I think we need that balance, and I think she's qualified. She may not have had the time to show it, but I think she's qualified for the job.
You're not going to like the one I say.
Why is it Amy Klobuchar?
No, but it's close. Because I think he's going to pick Kamala Harris as his VP.
Okay.
And obviously, who I've already said I want Gretchen Whitmer to be that VP. But.
Okay, yeah. Well, the tough thing is he gets my vote no matter what.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that I think Kamala Harris is a bit toxic too, because she's going to come with that West Coast liberalism that scares the shit out of the right wing. And I don't think
Ian, fuck the right wing though, because we're not worrying about those votes.
No, we're not. But they talk to their independent cousins and coworkers and stuff.
But I think that's where Biden does really well with independent voters, and that's why I if he picks Kamala Harris, I'm still not overly concerned with him. I mean, I still think he has a better chance of being president than Donald Trump does. Well, I guess we'll see.
As long as the election's fair.
Yeah, as long as the election's fair. Infection's fair is what I was going to say.
The last election has been an infection for us all.
I don't know, man, but that's all I got. Do you have anything else you want to add? Wrap this up a little bit.
No. Michelle Obama, if you're listening, we need you. We need you more than ever. So
it's not going to happen though. I would love to see it, because I think she would do a fantastic job, and I think people would come out in droves.
I honestly think Michelle Obama would be a much better president than even her husband was. Quite honestly,
maybe, but I think Michelle Obama is somebody that I think a female is going to have a hard time being elected president in the U.S. And I think that Michelle Obama is somebody with the background that's held in such high esteem that she is somebody that could overcome those hurdles.
I agree.
To win.
I agree. Well, I totally agree. So I would vote for Michelle Obama no matter who the president was. Like, you know what I mean? It's like she could be the running mate for Tim Kaine.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't, even if the Republican was maybe I could vote for that Republican. No, if Michelle Obama is on a ticket, she gets my vote no matter what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@ligpodcast.us. We're on Twitter @ligpod. Check us out on Facebook, Podbean, Apple Podcast, iTunes, Spotify. Check out the show on YouTube. You can hold on. You're supposed to look at the screen. You're supposed to give us a like down below, like over in that direction.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what it's going to show up because I don't understand how the mirroring of our screens are, but it's going to be.
You're on the left side of the screen. So
I'm on the right side of mine.
I know that, but the one that they are going to see, you're on the left side. So
okay.
If you point straight down, you're going to be pointing at the like button. So like us, and then over this way you got to subscribe to us, right?
Okie doke. Yes.
Give us a thumbs up.
It's 2020. Everyone knows the thumbs up and where it's at. Just fucking do it. Hit the subscribe. It's just to the right of that.
Yep.
You're fine. You know how to do it.
All right, man. Until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Play my role, let me tell you about it. This shit right here, man, I'm about it. Only real niggas reside around me. Yo, old lady, drop a guard around me. Dip like I know you can, bitch. Show me the ropes like we in the ring. Got you two cobras, you wanna hang. Shoulder to shoulder, them niggas basic. You know I won't lie. You know that I ain't for that fuck shit. You niggas alright, but I'm way better and she love it. Know that y'all sick as fuck. Here go this tissue, bruh. We taking the dub, hoping you get you some. This hit like a pick me up. She taking my drugs. Know they see the sign. That's some dollar signs. Know they sick as fuck. Know they sick as fuck. Tell them get well soon. Tell them get well soon. Know you sick as fuck. Get well soon. Oh shit. Watch out, you done caught Billy. Oh shit. Right now, and I'm smiling in your face, bitch. With a gold smile, you should probably make placement to your eye. Niggas sick as fuck. Standing with niggas who down for that party. Who down for some bitches who showing their bodies. Swear to God, nigga, this Molly got me up and rolling. These bodies of water. Bring that shit in bottles. We mosh at the party. That hit when we stylin'.